Hello. Now, you'd think this empty moorland would be just heather and sheep, but you'd be wrong. This upland heath and blanket bog supports a wide variety of wildlife that you don't find elsewhere. And some of it is in danger of dying out. Even in wild places like this, natural species have to be looked after and preserved. That's where the Barnsley Biodiversity Trust comes in, as Peter Roberts, chair of the Trust, explains.
Barnsley Biodiversity Trust brings together organisations and individuals interested in biodiversity. Barnsley is rich in a variety of wildlife, plants, birds, animals, and this is what we call biodiversity. We all benefit from access to green spaces, to the open countryside. We're interested in our own gardens and parks. There are some areas in Barnsley that are good for wildlife and others that are damaged and perhaps lost. The organisations and individuals involved in the Biodiversity Trust want to improve these things, but we need the support of everyone to do so, and this is why our work with schools is so important. The organisations and individuals involved in the Biodiversity Trust have a plan. We're working to this plan, and to succeed in what we want to achieve, we need your support, we need everyone's support, and this is why we're so keen to work with schools.
As Peter Roberts said, where better to start learning about biodiversity than with young children in schools? The Trust visits schools and works with the people in their own grounds at the school. These projects are led by Colin Graham and David Allen, who visit schools to talk to groups of children.
So these are the nest boxes that are going to go on poles. What do you think? What do you think? Yes?
Bird box. Is it a bird box?
You're dead right. It's a bird box. Can you think of any bird that might use that? Yes?
A woodpecker.
Well, it's a good try, but a woodpecker wouldn't use that, no. I know what you mean. You're thinking a woodpecker's going to drill a hole in a tree and go in and use it. And there is a ready-made hole. Have you noticed something? Have you noticed something? What's there?
Metal.
Pardon?
A hole.
Yes, but what's round the hole?
Metal.
Metal. Why do you think there's metal there? Yes?
So robins can go in.
Well, it's to stop something happening. What do you think might happen?
In case it sets on fire.
Well, that's a very good idea. You always get some wonderful answers, don't you? Yes, yes?
It might break.
It might break. Well, that's a good answer. Last one. Yes?
So it don't get bigger for all.
How would it get bigger? What would make it bigger? Yes?
If the birds peck it.
If the woodpecker pecks it, and if the grey squirrel comes along and bites a hole there, because the grey squirrel and the woodpecker can hear the baby birds inside squeaking, because baby birds will squeak, begging for food. That's why they're making little begging noises. Give me food, give me food. Sort of thing. And the woodpecker thinks, that's food for me. And the squirrel thinks, that's food for me. So they come along and the woodpecker will go, get it, Wigger, in it'll go, and the parents outside will be going absolutely mad and really get upset because they know they're going to lose their young ones. And the grey squirrel will stick its head in and pull the young ones out and eat them. Well, the grey squirrel's not even from this country. It's from America. It's all right in America. It's a wonderful animal in America, but it's not so wonderful here. Yes?
Wouldn't the bite a hole in the bottom of the metal?
I see what you mean. The woodpecker, if it was really, really desperate, the woodpecker would drill a hole through the side anywhere. But it's a lot of hard work. This is pretty thick wood. So they go around the ready-made hole. So that's why we went to Cudworth the other day and we had a look at their nest boxes, and there were lots of them had nests in, but all the holes were big because the grey squirrel had been there.
So then it's outside to install the nesting boxes in the correct place. But first, the preparation of the boxes.
What size should we
These boxes provide safe habitats for animals and birds and are an important contribution to preserving animal life. First, the hedgehog and bee boxes are placed on waste land in the school grounds. The children have done most of the work up to now, but the job of nailing the nesting boxes to the trees is left to members of the Biodiversity Trust. Besides nesting boxes, feeding stations are also available. At the feeding places, the children are able to observe the birds using a special hide to avoid scaring them away. They then identify the birds they've seen feeding and make a record of their observations.
I think it's cold. Mild means it's sort of warmish. Oh, magpies, look at that, that's wonderful. There we are. There's the blue tit that we've seen on the feeder. Yes, excellent.
During the winter months, when the nesting boxes have been vacated, there's an opportunity to see how they've been used. But unfortunately, things don't always go to plan. Grey squirrels and human beings are the biggest threat to nesting boxes.
It's a great tit's nest, and that's the base of it. The grey tits put woolen hair for the eggs, and then it's laid its eggs.
Why that one died and it
Well, what's happened is the grey squirrel has come and bitten the hole bigger, and it's stuck its head in and dragged out the babies, and it's eaten most of the babies, but it's left. It didn't see this one, it's left this one. And well, it's died because the parents fled away from the squirrel and didn't return. So nobody fed it really. So that's the way.
Have you ever seen the Where's the egg?
Well, we'll show you those later.
Where are
but
eggs?
you can have a little touch there. Yeah.
Eggs around the box.
No, the eggs have hatched.
Yeah, where is the eggshell?
The eggshells have been probably eaten by the bird or thrown out of the nest to make room for the babies. It's gone hard and dry because it's just, first of all it's rotted, yeah. Can you see the bits of wood where the grey squirrel has chewed it away? Chewed the nest box away. Right.
Where did they get all different colours? Oh, that's different colours.
Well, that's what they've come. You see, they've obviously found this wool. I bet that's from your school somewhere. And this hair. If it was a blue tit, it would be feathers in here, not hair. So there you are. A great tit's nest, which probably has not been successful because of the grey squirrel. which is an American species. So that's a bit sad, isn't it?
Animals, birds and insects are vital for biodiversity, but they depend on plants for food and habitat. Plants give ecological balance to the environment. So what is the Biodiversity Trust doing for plant species? Two areas where it's working hard to conserve what we have are bluebells and ancient or veteran trees. So why are bluebells threatened? And why are old trees important? Let's ask Monica Ward and Jill Hale.
I was here last week with my friend Glenys, who lives in Germany, and she loves to come at this time of the year because there are no bluebells in Germany. I hadn't realised that. And, you know, I realise more and more how important they are. I think you know something about the figures, don't you?
Yes, in the UK we have about 20% global population of bluebells.
It's fantastic. You know, we're very lucky, and I've realised through going into lots of woods, because I'm doing work with badgers, how many bluebells have survived in this area because of old mining. You know, the old bell pits. This, of course, Huskers was the old where they had the big disaster where all the children got drowned.
Yeah.
And because of industry, these areas weren't developed for farming. The trees weren't felled, so they were left. And now, of course, we value them and they're protected. And I'm very pleased, you know, that the Trust is valuing the bluebell as one of the iconic species that we've got in our Biodiversity Action Plan.
Yeah. What the main problem is for us with bluebells is a couple of things. It's poor woodland management because trees are not getting felled, and they're like glades.
Yes.
They're like the open spaces. And another problem is actual bramble.
Oh, yes.
That is encroaching them. So really, they just love open spaces, and that is the main thing. Another problem area that they've had in the past is that people have actually picked the native bluebell bulbs to sell commercially through nurseries.
Gosh.
And another problem is the sort of Spanish bluebell, the garden bluebell, where they're sort of hybridised and we're getting another species.
When people think about Barnsley, they think of a industrial area, old mining area, but they forget that it's a really beautiful place, and we're so proud of it.
And we're hoping that next year is that we do actually do some work with bluebells, perhaps producing a map of where all the bluebell woods are within the Barnsley area, and also getting the general public involved, getting them to record the bluebells so that we can make it a Barnsley project. You know,
people would enjoy that, wouldn't they? Yeah, certainly.
Yeah.
Yes, I think you know, schools would get involved in that, wouldn't they?
There's no reason why some of the schools that we've got with Colin that we can't actually take the children round some of the woodlands. I just think it's so peaceful.
It's lovely.
I think, you know, the bluebells, they have, I think it's the blue sort of calming effect, isn't it?
Absolutely wonderful, but this is one of my favourites, I must say.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
The Wentworth Castle and Stainborough Park Trust is responsible for the historic Wentworth Estate, which was laid out in the 17th and 18th centuries. What better place to find veteran trees?
It's obviously dead.
Yeah.
No, I can't see any leaves at all, but it's still a very, very important tree, although it's dead.
Yeah. But it's very good habitat, you said, isn't
Fantastic
it, for different
habitat.
things?
I mean, you've got many insects will depend on it, and you get fungi. You can't see them at this time of the year, but there'll be fungi growing on it, on the ground around it.
Yeah.
They come in the autumn. And of course you've got holes which could be bird nesting sites. You could have tawny owl or anything really. You know, there's lots of holes where anything could come.
Yeah,
Tree creeper, I could imagine even.
Yeah. I saw a bee just going in here.
Oh, yes.
So what sort, I don't know.
We have recorded all the veteran trees in this parkland, and that's one of the things we do. We measure them, and we discuss all the different features, like how many dead branches and things like that. I mean, this obviously all the branches are dead, not many left now at all. But it's very important to leave it and not to fell it. And of course, in some areas where they are near paths, people get worried about health and safety and fell them. But this is not in anybody's way, and it's not going to harm anybody. And it can stay here until it rots. It will probably be here for another 100 years or more.
I think when they record them for the grid reference. They do it with the GPS, don't they?
Yes, oh yes, we do that. We've
Do
got
we
a
d-
map of them all.
We have we?
Yes, we have, yes,
Right.
we have, yeah.
It would be quite good, I think, if we did some more training sessions.
We need some more. I think all the trees in this parkland have been recorded, but
Yeah.
we need now to look at ancient trees as well and trees outside the parklands.
Yeah.
But apart from trees, you know, the parkland is a very valuable place. Like if you look beyond there, you've got the open green area, which is very good for song thrush. You've got all this fantastic cover, which insects will be
Yeah.
abound under here.
Under the leaf litter.
So you've got, you know, hedgehogs. In fact, they're going to release some hedgehogs here very soon as part
Yes,
of
that's
our
right.
map. So that would be very good.
And this is very good for fungi for the autumn.
Yeah, definitely.
With all the leaf litter.
Yeah, it would be brilliant.
And I believe we've got different nest boxes here,
Put
haven't
up
we?
barn owl boxes and tree sparrow boxes, which are, you know, very important species. So, you know, it's very good. And we've also got a big pond where there are great crested newts.
Yeah.
So the whole area is rich in biodiversity.
And it's very good for bats, isn't it, here?
Yeah, there are bats as well. Yeah, because of course, I wouldn't be surprised if there are bats in here. Very possibly.
Because they do sort of have the nurseries or whatever here, don't
yes,
they?
Yeah, they do. So it's a fantastic specimen.
There was a tree at Silkstone Common. It was a veteran tree, just past the, Nabs Wood.
Oh yeah.
And the inside was out, and some kids actually put a bonfire into it and totally destroyed it.
Yes, that's why it's important that we go into schools to talk to children about the value of biodiversity, isn't it? So that they're aware of how important these things are. You know, they might say otherwise, oh, this is just a dead tree, but really, you know, it's a very, very special tree.
Yeah,
and you think about the history, all the things that's seen as well. You know, you think what here when it was planted, what was going on in the ground.
And it's supposedly a dead tree, what habitats it's got. So, you know, like the wood lice and like the bird life and everything else. So
Absolutely.
really, it's not a dead tree,
No.
it's a tree. It's got a unique habitat,
And
hasn't
that's right,
it?
it's a very, very valuable habitat, very special.
Here, David Allen of the Biodiversity Trust is helping children from Birkwood School to create a waterside plant environment.
Oh, excellent. Don't forget to pat it down with your feet. Excellent. Have you done it all right?
Involving children in the plant biodiversity of school grounds is the start of a much wider interest in ecology in general.
No, you're supposed to be holding the plant. That's it. Right. Remember, put your boot on there. Okay. Can you see? We need to cover that. Need to cover that up there. Yeah. That's it. Well done. Right. Now press it down with your foot. Excellent. Are you all right? Right. Very good. Then we'll put those flowers over there. So they trail over those rocks. Okay. Well done. Excellent.
Was it you all under the bridge? Outside.
Pond skaters. Yeah.
Ah, I see where pond
Yeah, you can see that, can't you? How they're on the surface.
Do you remember when I came to the classroom and we talked about a particular amphibian? What did we talk about?
Great crested newts.
And you said, Curtis, that you'd seen some, hadn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I said, what did I say about them?
That they're about that long
Yes,
and they're black and spotted.
yes. And they've got the males have got a crest on them.
Yep.
But what's so important about them?
That they're very rare.
They're very rare. And what do we need to do?
We need to protect them.
We need to protect them. And what do you think you're going to be doing?
They're being guardians of the great crested newt.
You four are going to be guardians of the great crested newt. Yes?
Yeah.
How are you going to do that?
Like if we see somebody fishing them out of ponds, we'll tell the Barnsley Biodiversity Trust or the people who own it, the police or the school.
But you won't. What won't you
We
do?
won't go up to them because we don't know who they are and it could get us into some trouble.
Absolutely right. Yes, well done. We're so pleased that you're going to be part of the Barnsley Biodiversity Trust in helping us look after the great crested newt. Thank you very much.
But how do schools become involved initially? Parent Governor Zoe Blair explains.
Well, Mr Graham visited the school and did a talk on an evening for parents, and anybody from the community could come actually, and the children came, and he did a wonderful talk about the work for the Biodiversity Trust, and answered lots of questions, gave a film talk, and
you were enthusiastic about it?
Yes, it really did.
We've seen some birds today, but you've also got a pond, haven't you? Tell me about that.
Yes. Well, the Biodiversity Trust helped set that up, and Mr Graham was invaluable in his expertise at choosing plants that would encourage wildlife into the field and the pond. And the children love it, they really do. In fact, we had an open day recently, and the children from the school council show members of the public or parents around the school, but they're keen to go out and show what's outside, and they love to show everybody the pond and the bird boxes that we've got outside.
And speaking about going out, you've recently done a trip, haven't you? What was that?
Yes, we went to Old Moor, and that was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Parents and children went with Mr Graham, and had a wonderful evening out. It was really smashing, and the children loved it. And they love walking around the gardens here, but it was nice to have a trip off-site.
So from a parent-governor point of view, what does the Biodiversity Trust mean to you?
It means that instead of the children coming, I help with the school library, and you could give them a book to look at, but actually being outside and seeing things come to life and being able to ask questions when they arise. And Mr Graham is so knowledgeable, and just seeing the kids' faces, this morning is just wonderful. I love seeing them just there, with it and amongst it, rather than just looking through a book.
Parent Governor Zoe Blair, who's obviously grateful to Colin Graham for what he's done at the school. So what's his involvement with the programme? Colin explains.
Well, in 2008, David Allen and I, we were trustees of the Barnsley Biodiversity Trust, decided that we would work with schools to promote a healthy biodiversity, a balanced biodiversity that we all need. Why schools? Well, children are natural carers, and they have a natural interest in wildlife. And we wanted them to develop their own projects in school, their own environmental projects, take ownership of them and develop them, and perhaps as they grow up pass on that kind of learning to their children and so on, so it is a continuous thing. So what do we do in schools? Well, the first thing we do is to contact them and do a survey, an ecological survey of the school grounds, to see what wildlife possibilities there are, or habitat possibilities. Then we write a report so that governors and teachers, and of course the children themselves, can look at and study. Then we give a talk on the work of the Barnsley Biodiversity Trust to a class-sized group of children, and part of that talk there is a practical experience of wildlife artifacts such as birds' nests, eggs, skeletons. After that we present the nest boxes, appropriate nest boxes, in a whole school assembly. We can run the assembly ourselves, and that lasts about 20 minutes. And then after that we help the school and the children to erect the nest boxes and place the hedgehog boxes, and then record where they are, and we help them to build up records that they can actually study later in terms of data and information collecting. So, and then we have follow-up visits, and we help them with cleaning out nest boxes, finding out what's been in the nest boxes, and sometimes we actually run bird watching sessions with parents and children in the morning.
The children have become so interested in biodiversity that they've involved their parents, who organise activities and go on field trips with them.
There's some children here that are really looking on top of hedges.
It's got lovely speckles on it and lovely subtle shades. Right, if you look on top of that hedge there, there's a couple of dunnocks. Look, there's 3 dunnocks.
One across the hedge. They're on the hedge.
Yes, on the hedge. All right, let's just... If we move down to there, we'll be able to see looking back. Look at that. And its other name is a wind hover. See, a wind hover. Watching mice in the hedge bottoms.
So, how important is the Barnsley Biodiversity Trust work to the schools? 2 head teachers explain.
We've been linked with Colin for a time now, and we appreciate the work that he's done with the children. He came and put up some nest boxes for us, and through the spring we ran a lot of early morning bird watching sessions which were very popular, and over a 6-week period we had over a third of the school turning out at least one occasion. We saw a lot of interesting birds, and it's developed an interest with the children. Some of them have been off and bought binoculars, which they brought the new binoculars today, and it's been fantastic. I think the highlights were watching the tree sparrows using the nest boxes that have been put up, and also the blue tits feeding their young in the nest boxes. They were very busy one morning when we were here, and I think the work with the parents has been really good. Colin came in and did a session with parents and children, talked about the wildlife of the area and about some of the plants as well as the birds and animals that were endangered, and I think that's raised a lot of awareness with the parents, and they've been really good at following things through and supporting us in the work we've done. Last year they provided bird seed for our feeders. This year we're trying to sell it, so I can't see them giving it us, but we've got a lot of children who are interested, and now we're trying to make an enterprise project out of selling the birdseed and the feeders.
I'm Julie Allen, the head teacher at Birkwood Primary School, and I'm very grateful for the work that Barnsley Biodiversity Trust have done with our school. It'll benefit our children here and now, enable them to learn about outdoor life, the creatures that have come to live at our pond, the animals around about, but also the nesting boxes, the hedgehog new homes, and the other wildlife that have come to live here. But it's a long-term project, and it's something that we intend to develop for the future of our school so that many children can benefit. So I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our staff and children who've worked so hard to make it such a success in such a short space of time.
So it's quite obvious that the children are interested in these environmental issues, to look after the local wildlife and create a more balanced environment. These are things that tomorrow's citizens will have to understand, and we're starting now in Barnsley through the Biodiversity in Schools programme. Look out for more films in this series, and I'll see you then. Cheerio!